Peter Lombard, Sententiae, Episode 1. This is the first in a series on the famous scholastic theologian Peter Lombard, who lived from 1095 to 1160 A.D. I'm taking the text from this edition of 1971, the Spicalegium Bonaventurianum, Sententiae in Quatuor Libris Distincti. This text is not in the public domain. It's taken from Google Books and used without profit or for personal gain. Incipit liber primus, de mysterio Trinitatis, distinctio prima. Capitulum primum. Omnis doctrina de rebus vel de signis. Veteris ac novae legis continentiam diligenti indagine etiam atque etiam considerantibus nobis, praevia Dei gratia innotuit sacrae paginae, tractatum, circa res vel signa, praecipive versari. Ut enim egregius doctor Augustinus aiet in libro de doctrina Christiana, omnis doctrina vel rerum est vel signorum, sed res etiam per signa discuntur. The beginning of the first book, on the mystery of the Trinity, the first distinction, the first chapter. Omnis doctrina, all teaching, all doctrine, concerns things or signs. We might say their signs. Veteris ac novae legis continentiam, the content of the Old and the New Law, or we might say the Old and New Covenant, the Old and New Testament, and continentiam is accusative, feminine, singular, and accusative, continentiam, and we have diligenti indagine here, which is in the feminine, singular, and ablative, and it is an ablative of means. So, considerantibus nobis, I am taking these as masculine, plural, and dative, and I'll show you why in a moment. While we were considering or pondering over and over, again and again, etiam atque etiam, the content, continentiam, the content of the Old and New Testament, and we were doing so diligenti indagine, with very careful scrutiny. While that was happening, the prevenient grace, the grace of God, gratia Dei, which goes before, the prevenient grace of God, made clear, innotuit. This is the perfect of the verb innotesco, to make known, to make clear, with this frequentative infix. Made clear to us, this is why I'm taking this as dative. So the prevenient grace of God made clear to us as we were pondering the continentiam with careful diligence, careful tracking down over and over. But some might want to take this as an ablative absolute, and that's possible. It seems from the comma here that this is how the editor construes it. I prefer to take it as a dative indirect object with innotuit, but I'm not exactly sure which is the better interpretation. Nevertheless, the prevenient grace of God made clear to us that the tractatum, the treatment of the sacred page, sacrae paginae, versari, concerned or dealt with, especially or primarily, praecipive, that's an adverb, circa res vel signa, dealt with especially subjects or topics or their signs, their indicators. Versari is a deponent first conjugation verb, versor, versari. It means to have as one's subject matter. For, enim, as the distinguished Doctor Augustine said. Now note with the indicative, aiet, that ut is parenthetical. So ut plus an indicative is always construed parenthetically. That as the distinguished Dr. Augustine said, an egregius means quite literally ex grege, taken out of the flock, distinguished, separate. As the distinguished Dr. Augustine said in libro, in his book on Christian doctrine, De Doctrina Christiana, and then here comes a quote, all doctrine, all instruction, deals either with, or is either of things, or of their signs. This is the beginning of the quote. The end of the quote comes after in the next episode. But, says Augustine, the content is, or the contents, the topics, plural, are also taught via signs per signa. This is the famous distinction in De Doctrina Christiana of res versus signum, the thing and the signifier of the thing.